Welcome, my friends, to the Bob and Brad podcast. My name is Mike Kenitz, and I'm a physical therapist assistant. Today, our guest is Dr. Eric Westman, and we're going to be discussing different keto topics. So, Dr. Westman is the co-founder of Adapt Your Life and Adapt Your Life Academy, an associate professor of medicine at Duke University Health System, and the director of Duke Keto Medicine Clinic in Durham, North Carolina. So, without further ado, here is Dr. Westman. So, are there any positive or negative long-term effects of being in ketosis?
Well, we started researching the low carb and keto diet in terms of therapeutic effect. So we started studying on the treatment and reversal of obesity. Check. It does that. I mean, that's really kind of what it's known for in the medical world for obesity treatment. But it also reverses diabetes. And our clinical studies go way back, and there's some newer ones. But in the clinic, I reverse diabetes and obesity and heartburn and all of these other clinical issues. And so, and yes, you can reverse these things doing all sorts of other diets and other sorts of medicines and surgery, but it really has a role to play for those who can't make use of those other services. And if you just want to do things by changing the food, there's so many great things we can reverse things. So what's fascinating is there really aren't a whole lot of studies about preventing issues. And this is one of the areas that's wide open for research. If you wanted to do a study that would be fairly simple and you just follow people on a low carb diet and see if they develop diabetes or other problems like that, because I'm confident it will, but those studies haven't been done. So the studies have been done on reversing illness and disease, and you turn it around, it doesn't mean it's going to prevent it. So if the kitty is up on the tree and I have a ladder to get the kitty down, it doesn't mean the kitty went up the ladder to the tree, right?
Right.
So I could fix diabetes with a low carb diet. It doesn't mean carbs cause the diabetes, although I'm pretty confident it's true. So I'm very optimistic and encouraged about the prevention of illness. And now the time is to teach children, teach parents, get into that preventive mode where you have to be careful about sugar. And I don't mean everyone has to be keto. I have a new book that actually talks about different levels of carbs, but we're really pretty strict about staying away from refined sugar and flour. And that's a general theme among all scientists and researchers today. It's not just me at Duke saying that, but the implementation is simple and easy. And you know what? It's still to this day, I'm in the clinic and I teach people the look in someone's eyes when they come back and they go, "This is so easy. How come I didn't know about this before?" That's really fun to see.
All right. Do you?
Oh, you mentioned about the bad things.
Yeah.
No. So the studies about true ketosis and in mice, and you can follow for the whole lifespan of a mouse. They live longer if you put them in keto, if they follow a keto diet. And so that hasn't been done in humans, although in primates, I guess there's a hint that the less you eat, the lower your insulin level in the blood for a human, even the longer you'll probably live. It's very rare to see someone who has a problem in burning fat. And that's really what's going on when you're on a keto diet. You're a fat burner. In fact, some bizarre, rare diseases get better when the body starts burning fat, and that's always very interesting to see. That I'm an internist and I'm not a genetic expert, but there's a rare genetic disease that basically gets better when you run the muscle on fat and not on sugar. So the long term, no, I think I don't know of any long-term effects that's bad from eating regular food. Now, and so I'm saying that this is if you do a real food-based kind of keto diet, nobody knows what the long-term effects are of adding, oils to coffee and apple cider vinegar every day. And, the internet keto out there, I can't vouch for, but for a real food-based kind of program where you're just keeping the carbs really low, and you're not, emphasizing being in ketosis all the time. I know that's safe. I mean, I've been following people now for over 20 years doing this. But the kind of weird versions of keto that you'll find on the internet, sometimes I do have concern that there might be long-term effects of having of drinking these oils all day long. So be careful again about who you get the information from. And I think the best sources are doctors who've been using it in the clinic. If you're trying to do it for a clinical problem, because then they have the day-to-day nuance and familiarity with how to manage the different questions and different diseases. But the keto diet that we've been using, which is a real food-based kind of program, I don't think there are any long-term complications.
All right. Yeah, there's really no long-term studies on any diet unless it's pure correlational.
Yeah.
So, all right. Where can people find more information about you at?
My website is ericwestmanmd.com. So that's ERICWESTMANMD.com. And you can find the different resources we have there. We have a page, we have a book, we have courses you can take on the internet. The company I started, Adapt Your Life, and the Adapt Your Life Academy has resources, free YouTube videos at Adapt Your Life YouTube channel. And you can take courses that we open from time to time at the Adapt Your Life Academy. So we're trying to give our information and teaching in many different ways. And of course, you can see me at Duke University going through the clinical program there. I have to warn you that there's a bit of a wait to get in. I'm sorry about that. That's why one reason why we created this company, to get information to people who can't make the trip to Durham.
All right. You're just getting too popular, I guess.
Well, or the approach is getting popular.
One of the two, huh? Yeah.
Yeah, I've trained a number of doctors who created practices like this around the country, and that's exciting to see. So we need to train many more people in this way. Really, I use lifestyle. I use food predominantly. Some people come to me, they can't exercise. So when I say lifestyle, I really mean diet, the nutrition. And I get to take away medicines. I don't give medicines like most of my colleagues anymore.
Right. Well, thank you for joining us today.
My pleasure.